Hi, this is Philip from the Amphasys support team. Welcome to today's video on how to do basic data analysis with the AmphaSoft 2.0 impedance flow cytometry software. In a previous video, we learned how to measure a sample, so now we want to have a look on how to work with the acquired data. To do that, I prepared some samples to show you the possibilities of AmphaSoft. The first step of analyzing data in an appropriate way is to zoom properly. So in this plot, you can see that it is zoomed out way too far to allow any analysis. So to correct that, there are three possibilities. First is you can scroll with the mouse wheel. This will zoom the X and Y axis at the same ratio. Possibility 2, you can press the button Zoom, which you find down here. This will zoom the plot based on the distribution of data points, which will result in the plot being instantly zoomed to its individual optimum. Since the distribution of points will be a bit different in every plot, the result of this zoom can vary between the individual measurements. Alternatively, you can also define the axis sections directly. In this segment here, you can type in the left and right, the lower and upper limit of the axis. This can be done for each frequency individually. Now that we found good settings, we can apply those changes to the whole workspace or only to pre-selected measurements. Selecting single measurements is done by pressing and holding Ctrl while clicking on the measurements of choice. Then move the cursor into the plot, do a right click, and go to Axis, Apply to, and select it. Applying the axis settings to all measurements in the workspace follows the same logic. You don't need to select all plots. Right-click into a plot, select Axis, Apply to, and all. And as you can see here, what was previously zoomed in is now zoomed out again. But just zooming sometimes does not fully do the job. Based on the relative density of the plot, it can be helpful to either reduce or increase the size of the data points in the plot. This is done by holding Ctrl button on your keyboard pressed and moving the mouse wheel. Once we found an appropriate setting, we can apply this to the whole workspace. Simply right-click into the plot, move the cursor to Point Size, Apply to, and Workspace. Next off, we want to get some crunching numbers. We get those with putting Gatings into our now well-zoomed plots. First, please let me introduce you to the different types of gating. Line gatings. Line gatings are straight lines which can be put into the plot with a single click. These can either be vertical, horizontal, or a combination of both. To put the gating, simply click one of the icons, move the cursor to the plot, and click again. Once put, the gatings can still be moved with the mouse. To do that, left-click anywhere near the gating until the line turns red. This tells you that the gating is selected. Click left and keep the mouse button clicked to simply drag and drop the gating to your liking. Gatings can also be deleted with selecting them and pressing the delete button on your keyboard. In the corners here and here, we can read the percentage of all measured points as well as the total number of data points that lies within the respective field of the gating. For example, this here shows us how many points are right and how many are left of the gating. Just like axis settings, gatings can also be applied to other measurements with first selecting the gating, then doing a right click, moving the cursor to gating, apply to, and then all or selected. As you can see here, the exact same gating is now part of all of these plots. Polygon gatings. Polygon gatings have fully customizable shapes. When the polygon icon is clicked, each additional consecutive click in the plot adds a new line to the polygon. To close the polygon, we can use a double click. Once put, the polygons can be moved and applied to other measurements the same way as line gatings. To select a polygon, just click anywhere inside the polygons area. Remember, when the line turns red, the gating is selected. Polygons offer more options than line gatings. So let's have a look at those options. Selecting. Selecting the data points within a polygon allows us to highlight the same data points in another frequency. To do that, select the gating, do a right click, and then move the cursor to gating and select cells. This is only meant for a quick cross-check. The selection will disappear automatically once we go to another measurement. Hiding. The hiding function allows us to temporarily remove unwanted data points from the plot. We can do this with selecting the gating, then doing a right click, gating, and then hide, and cells. As you see, the selected cells are grayed out now. To the software, it is now the same as if they weren't there. This will stay until we select an unhiding option. The hiding function does change the gating statistics as well the values for concentration, accepted and rejected. Statistics. This option will display more statistics about the data points within the gating. Get them with selecting the gating, right-click, and then select Gating and Statistics. This option includes the mean, the standard deviation, the median, and the mode. In general, for the advanced options, the first number here always indicates the value for the y direction, the second for the x direction. Overlay. An overlay is an option that can show up to 6 measurements in one combined picture. Each measurement will be displayed in another color. To create the overlay, we first select the measurements of interest, then do a right-click in the plot and select Overlay. Please note that all measurements selected for an overlay need to have the same axis settings. Also, in the case of displayed gatings, you should rename them by double-clicking the flag and then move the flag via drag and drop so they do not overlay as well. The result of an overlay is a picture which cannot be further manipulated. To save it, click Save. The file will be stored in the workspace. Reports. To export the acquired data from AmphaSoft, we will use the report function. To create a report, we first need to go into the measurements list window. Reports can be done in HTML or CSV format in 3 different layouts. HTML is good for a quick overview, whereas CSV reports provide you with all the numerical values from your measurement. Now, let's have a look at the different layout options. Comparison puts values for settings, results, gating statistics, and each polygon into tables which allow an easy comparison in between the measurements. Measurements puts all the values from one measurement into an own table. Followed by a table for the second measurement, the third, and so on. Row layout only applies to CSV reports and puts every value of the report into one row, which allows an easier comparison between results of multiple workspaces. As an advanced option, multiple row reports can also be combined into one file using the multi-report button. Alright folks, that's all for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time around. Your Amphasys support team.